I found out the woman I loved wasn't as mine as I thought, and it happened on the one day that was supposed to mean everything to us. I'm not even sure how to tell this in a clean way. My head was a mess back then, so this might come out messy too. I was 23, she was 22, and we'd been together almost 4 years. That's basically our whole adult lives. We didn't just date, we grew up together. She was the person I told everything to. The dumb stuff, the embarrassing stuff, the late-night deep talks when the world felt heavy. She was my person. I trusted her in that simple, stupid way where you don't even consider the idea that they could hurt you. You just assume they won't. For our anniversary, I wanted to do something personal. I'm into coding, nothing crazy, just basic stuff, so I made her a small app. Just a little page with our photos, voice notes from when we used to fall asleep on calls at 3 a.m., screenshots of old chats, stupid inside jokes, short notes about moments I didn't want to forget. While I was making it, I actually felt close to her again, like I was touching our memories with my hands. Felt warm, safe, but at the same time, something felt off. I couldn't explain it. There was no big fight, no obvious drama. Just small changes. She used to reply fast. Now sometimes hours went by and I'd get the same excuse. Sorry, I fell asleep 3 times a week. She smiled at me, but it didn't reach her eyes anymore. She'd sit next to me, scrolling her phone with the screen slightly turned away, like she didn't want me to see. Tiny things. The kind you try to ignore because you don't want to be that paranoid guy. Except once the thought gets into your head, it doesn't shut up. And instead of talking to her like a normal person, I did something I'm still ashamed of. I don't even recognize the guy I was in that moment. I'd always told myself I wasn't the jealous, controlling type. I hated those stories about dudes who spy on their girlfriends. I thought I was better than that. Turns out, fear can make you do things you swore you'd never do. Late one night, after she fell asleep on my chest, I lay there staring at the ceiling with my heart beating way too fast. My mind kept replaying all the little moments that felt wrong. The delayed replies, the half smiles, the way she'd suddenly put her phone face down when I walked into the room. I tried to calm myself down, told myself I was overthinking, but the feeling wouldn't go away. It was like an itch under my skin. I did something stupid. I found some sketchy spyware thing from a random guy online. I don't even know what convinced me it was a good idea. Maybe I just wanted proof that I was wrong. Maybe I wanted peace of mind. Or maybe I was already preparing myself to get hurt and didn't even know it yet. When I added it into the little anniversary app one was making for her, my chest felt heavy. My hands actually paused over the keyboard. I remember thinking, this is messed up. If she ever finds out, you're done. Not just with her, with yourself. I almost deleted it right there. Almost. Instead, I told myself some weak excuse. That I'd only look once. That I just needed to know everything was okay. That if I found nothing, I'd remove it and never think about it again. I pressed save. And the second I did, I already felt dirty. After that, I acted normal around her. Or at least I tried. I laughed at her jokes. I kissed her forehead. I told her I loved her like I always did. But inside, there was this quiet tension, like I was waiting for something bad to happen. Every time her phone buzzed, my stomach tightened. Every time she smiled at a message, my mind started making up stories. Her birthday came not long after. We went out, had cake, took photos. On the outside, it looked like a normal, happy day. But being next to her felt strange. She laughed, then went quiet for no reason. She hugged me, but her body felt stiff, like her mind was somewhere else. I kept telling myself I was imagining things. That night, I barely slept. I knew I had access to something I shouldn't, and the urge to check it was getting louder with every minute. I don't know what I was expecting the second time. Maybe I thought I'd somehow feel numb, like once you're already hurt, more pain won't do much. Yeah, that was a lie I told myself. There were more messages. Nothing super explicit, but enough to make it clear this wasn't a one-time slip. This was a pattern. Inside jokes, little updates about her day, complaints about small things in her life that she used to complain to me about. It felt like I was watching her slowly move parts of herself away from me and hand them to someone else. At one point, she sent him a voice note. I hovered over the play button for a long time. My finger wouldn't move. Listening to her voice felt like crossing another line inside my own head. I clicked it anyway. Hearing her laugh with him hit me harder than reading the words. Her laugh is something I used to think was just for me. I'd always loved that sound. Now it felt stolen from me, even though I knew that wasn't fair. People can laugh with other people. I knew that logically, but emotions don't care about logic. I closed everything and threw my phone onto the bed. My hands were sweaty. My heart was beating way too fast. I felt sick, not just because of what she was doing, but because of what I was becoming. This paranoid, spying version of myself. I didn't like that guy. I didn't want to be him. I sat on the floor with my back against the bed and just stared at the wall. All these questions started piling up in my head. Was she planning to go back to him? Was I just a comfortable option now? Had she been lying to my face for a long time? Or was this something new and messy that even she didn't understand yet? The worst part was how alone I felt. I couldn't talk to her about it without exposing what I did. I couldn't really talk to my friends either because I felt ashamed. Ashamed that I spied. Ashamed that I still loved her. Ashamed that part of me wanted to pretend I never saw any of this and just keep things the way they were. When she came back later that evening, she seemed lighter. Happier. She hugged me from behind and asked if I missed her. I said, yeah. And my voice didn't even sound like mine anymore. That's when I realized something was breaking inside me, slowly and quietly. After that day, I started noticing everything. Not in a normal way, in that unhealthy, obsessive way where your brain turns into a detective you never asked for. Every late reply felt suspicious. Every time she smiled at her phone, my chest tightened. Every time she said, "It's nothing," my mind filled in 100 worst-case scenarios. I hated living like that. It was exhausting. I'd lie next to her at night while she slept, staring at the ceiling, my thoughts running in circles. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to go back to that easy trust we had before. But once something cracks, you can't just pretend it didn't make a sound. She could feel it too. I know she could. I was quieter, less present. I didn't joke as much. Sometimes she'd ask, "Are you okay?" And I'd say, "Yeah, just tired," which was true but not in the way she thought. I was tired of carrying this secret, tired of acting normal, tired of being stuck between loving her and not trusting her. One night, she said, "You feel far away lately." I wanted to laugh. I wanted to cry. Instead, I just shrugged and said, "I don't know. Maybe I've just got a lot on my mind." She looked at me for a long second, like she wanted to say something else. Then she turned back to her phone. The screen lit up her face in the dark, and that tiny light felt like a wall between us. I realized we were both hiding things now. Different things, but still hiding. And the space between us was getting bigger even when we were sitting right next to each other. The days after that felt weirdly normal on the surface. We still ate together, still watched shows, still said, "I love you" before sleeping. But it felt like we were acting in a version of our relationship instead of actually being in it. One afternoon, she asked if I wanted to go out with her friends that weekend. I said sure, even though I didn't feel like being around anyone. I didn't feel like pretending I was okay. But I went anyway, because saying no would have raised questions I wasn't ready to answer. At the bar, she laughed with her friends, leaned into conversations, looked happy. I watched her from across the table and tried to remember when I last felt that easy around her. Not anxious, not tense, just comfortable. Couldn't remember, and that scared me more than the messages ever did. At one point, she went outside to take a call. She was gone longer than normal. I sat there with my drink, staring at the condensation sliding down the glass, my thoughts getting louder. When she came back, she said, "Sorry, my mom called." Maybe it was true. Maybe it wasn't. The fact that I couldn't tell anymore hurt in a different way. On the way home, we walked in silence for a while. The streetlights made long shadows on the sidewalk. I wanted to grab her hand like I used to, but my arm stayed by my side. She noticed. "You okay?" she asked again, softer this time. I stopped walking. She turned to face me. The look on her face wasn't guilty. It was confused, maybe even worried. And that's what finally broke me a little. I wanted to tell her everything. The messages, the spying, the way I felt like I was slowly disappearing inside the relationship. But I knew that once I said it out loud, there was no going back. The relationship would change forever, no matter what she said next. So I took a deep breath and said, I don't feel good about us anymore. Her eyes widened slightly. What does that mean? It was the first honest thing I'd said in a long time. We stood there under the streetlight, the night quiet around us, like the world was giving us space to mess up our own lives in peace. I don't feel good about us anymore, I repeated, because once the words are out, you can't pull them back. She looked hurt, not defensive, not angry, just hurt. Why? She asked. Did I do something? That question almost broke me. Because yeah, she did. But so did I. And I couldn't tell her my side without admitting what I'd done. I stared at the ground for a second, then back at her face. The face I used to feel safe with. I feel like we're not honest with each other anymore, I said slowly. Like we're here, but we're not really here. She swallowed. I felt you pulling away, she said. I thought you were just getting bored of me. Hearing that hit me in the chest. I wasn't bored. I was hurt, and scared, and ashamed. But I didn't correct her. I didn't explain myself. I just shook my head. It's not that. I don't think things are the same anymore. We stood there for a long moment. Cars passed in the distance. Someone laughed somewhere down the street. Normal life kept going while ours felt like it was falling apart quietly. So what are you saying? She asked. I took a deep breath. I think we should take a break, or maybe end it, before we start hating each other. Her eyes filled up, and mine did too, even though I tried to hide it. We hugged. Not the warm, safe hugs we used to have. This one felt like saying goodbye to something that already died a little while ago. We did break up after that. No big fight. No shouting. Just two people standing in the dark, admitting they couldn't fix what was broken. I never told her about the spyware. That secret stayed with me. Maybe that's selfish. Maybe it's cowardly. But I knew telling her would only add another layer of hurt to something that was already over. It took me a long time to forgive her for what she did. It took even longer to forgive myself. But that whole mess taught me something I won't forget. If you feel the need to spy on the person you love, something is already wrong. And once you cross that line, even the truth won't set you free. Appreciate you listening. Subscribe and comment. It really helps the channel grow.